So, where are we at, babe?
We're in Iceland! Where adventure awaits.
Yep, just got here this morning.
We just picked up
Thor. And we are in what can only be described as the most American vehicle in Iceland, I think. It's got real tree stickers on here. Its license plate is just camper. I mean, does it get more American than that grill?
Yeah, the grill.
So we flew, I don't know, a couple thousand miles to drive something that looks right at home in our hometown. So,
But it's called Thor.
But it is called Thor, so we're good. So what are we gonna do?
We're gonna go explore Iceland. We're gonna do the ring road, 16 nights in Thor.
All right, let's go have some adventure, babe.
Let's go have some adventure.
Shopping at the bonus. Kind of pricey. We're at the geothermal plant, our first real stop other than the grocery store. So, our first night camping here, and we are in RV Reykjavik, and it's a nice campground. Quite a few campers here. These folks beside us came in late and were awfully noisy, and we definitely have the most redneck vehicle in the whole campground, and that's okay. So today we go and hit the Golden Circle, and looks like it might be clearing out over there, but we're anticipating gray and overcast and a little bit of rain. Our first challenge, we have a dead battery in the truck. First full day that we had it. Actually, haven't even had it a day yet. The redneck mobile is failing us. I don't think we left anything on, so we're not clear as to what's going on, and we're a little concerned about going into the North Country with something that's not starting, so we'll see what happens.
Day 1, we got a check engine light. Still kept doing fine. Day 2, it started the first time.
And then it just wouldn't start again. And tried jumping it off. It really wasn't a battery issue. I didn't think it was a battery issue. The company said, oh, it's a battery issue. You left the light on, and that wasn't it. And I knew that wasn't it because it had started immediately in the morning. And bought jumper cables. Went through this whole rigmarole thinking, okay, can't break down in the middle of Iceland without some way of jumping it off. And then it just, even with jumper cables, it wouldn't start again. So we drove back to the company. And
after we got jumped off twice.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was a stressful time trying to find somebody who didn't have a hybrid car or a rental car. They didn't want to jump us off. To find somebody who could jump off a Dodge Ram. Anyway.
And we had a couple very nice people that helped us out, and
very nice.
We just you can't go around this country relying on the kindness of people that may or may not be around you
when you break down, right?
Because you're in the middle of nowhere a lot of times.
Right.
So we immediately drove back to the rental company and said, this either needs to be fixed or we need a new camper. And after several discussions as to our leaving the lights on, and they finally came to the conclusion that it was a bad CPU in the truck itself that was intermittently not working. So
yep, so we started with the most American redneck vehicle in all of Iceland, and this gentleman helped us get it sorted out. We had some computer problems, so we're moving over to an Isuzu. So after swapping out our first camper, we had a lot of truck problems with it. We ended up spending the night in Reykjavik, which was not our initial plan. And so this is our downtown Reykjavik campground. And we walked downtown and saw the church and the harbor and the famous statue. Here we have the famous sun sculpture. And this is definitely one of those cases of Instagram versus reality, because it's a very cloudy day, late in the afternoon. And there's a queue of people to get their picture taken in front of it. It was pretty cool. And there's my sweet one getting their picture taken.
So after day,
finally, basically
late in day 2,
we took off and kind of got back to where we had gotten to the first night, and a little bit further, but not much.
Not much.
And then so our first real day out doing stuff was the Golden Circle.
Yeah, the Golden Circle. Yeah.
And that's the place that everyone goes to. And I guess if you just have a few days in Iceland, go to the Golden Circle. It's got a beautiful waterfall. It's the rift between the two continents or tectonic plates, and it's
the
got
geyser.
a geyser. But it's busy. It's very busy.
It's crowded. It's vans and buses of people. It's a lot of people to deal with in the Golden Circle, and parking lots are crowded. But you do the Golden Circle,
and
right?
It's pretty.
It's pretty. Yeah.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It rained on us a good bit of the time.
It started raining at the last stop, the waterfall.
Right, yeah.
So it started raining on at the last big, huge waterfall.
And it rained good.
It rained good.
We were wet. And this will be a recurring theme. So,
after that first Golden Circle, that at the end of that night was where we went to our first hot tub experience.
Oh,
and
that's
it was
right.
the natural hot tub. It was 2 tubs made up of stones.
Stones and gravel, and
beautiful.
It was just beautiful. That was our first hot tub experience here in Iceland, and it was great. It was fantastic. It was only maybe a dozen people there at most.
Yeah,
and,
because it's small.
Very small.
Yeah, you don't want a lot.
But
of
it was
people
not
there.
terribly expensive. The Blue Lagoon is pricey. The
pricey.
Secret Lagoon, which is not too far away from where we went, was pricey. This was not too bad.
Off the beaten path kind of one that was privately owned and run, and no facilities around it. It's just a changing room, and it was beautiful.
It was, and it cost about $35.
$35. yeah.
Everything cost about $35 here. Yeah. Give or take a little bit, but everything's about $35.
Every night of camping has been around $35. So we go up to more waterfalls the next day. Oh, the Viking Longhouse.
Oh, yes.
So this is the Stong Viking settlement that dates back until at least 1100 and was not occupied after a volcano nearby. And then it was reoccupied after that and then discontinued use at some point. And this is one of 8. The other ones were reburied for future archaeological evidence.
And then from there, we actually found a waterfall that hadn't been on our list, and we can try to pronounce that of Jane, right?
Jane, I think they referred to that as that whole valley.
Yes.
So there were 2 waterfalls in there, and a river running through it, and troll caves.
Yes.
That valley, probably one of your favorites.
It's still at the end, even still one of my favorites.
I mean, that was on day 2, and that's still probably one of your favorites.
It was something like out of the Lord of the Rings, Rivendell. I mean, it was just so
green
pretty.
and waterfalls and caves. That it was gorgeous. That was a little valley that we actually kind of stumbled onto with a hike. Beautiful. And then way up to
Hyafoss
and Granny.
Yeah. And Granny.
So they were up a dirt road.
Rough road. It was an F road, and the F roads are 4-wheel drive recommended and only, and that's what we have here. Fogged in.
Yeah.
Fogged in.
Yeah. It was still raining.
It was still raining.
So we maybe didn't know where the waterfalls were.
We kind of saw them off in the distance, and we'll show you some video as to how foggy it is. Now, the F roads are, we got a 4x4 truck with the idea that we were going to do some F roads. And around that time, Melinda got sick, had a fever, and we just decided we did not want to be overlanding without any sort of medical support. So we stuck basically to the roads. This is one of the few F roads that we ended up doing. And it was point to point and not very long. So the F roads, don't take them lightly, and don't think that you can just do them in a 4-wheel drive car, because it might be tougher than you think. There might be river crossings, and just really, really rough roads. So every night we've stayed in campgrounds.
Yes.
And there is no wild camping. So if you watched any of our other videos in Patagonia, we love to do the wild camping down here. This is all very, very strict. You stay in a campground. And they're trying to do it to preserve the environment. And a lot of this is private land. They just don't want people camping, leaving toilet paper piles, in nature, trash in the nature. So you need to have a campground. On the plus side, they're pretty easy to get to. There's a lot of
campgrounds, and they all have really great services. They're almost always going to have water closets that are really nice
Super
and clean. They're almost always going to have showers. We've had a few that you've had to pay extra for the shower, but for the most part, you get a shower or you pay extra for it. And then they all have a kitchen facility with cooking, dishwashing sinks, specific dishwashing sinks. And then they almost always have a washer and dryer that you pay extra if you want to use a washer dryer for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the buildings in these campgrounds are really well done, well thought out. Yeah.
Hot water usually, lots of hot water, especially in the south.
Hot water is
everywhere.
Easy here, and so it's even dishwashing sinks have hot water. Yeah.
Right. So that was the waterfalls, and then so day 4 for us, we we kind of hit some more waterfalls. And
that was the waterfall that you could walk around behind.
Yep, we walked around.
So you circled it. Yeah.
It's a huge waterfall. Yeah. You walk around behind it, where you got to wear rain jackets and rain pants.
Bring your rain
get
jacket.
wet. You're gonna get wet.
Yeah.
And then further up from there, we walked into a slot canyon that also has a waterfall going down into it, which was really cool.
That was really pretty. Right around Vic, the town of Vic, is an overlook with a lighthouse, puffins, and just beautiful views of black sand beaches and
the sea stacks, the basalt columns standing in the water.
Yeah, really neat. That was a neat place.
That was neat. And then we went to the actual black sand beach, which was just a little ways down the road with some famous basalt columns and lots of Instagrammers getting their picture taken in the exact same basalt column area. It was neat, but I think that the overlook before that was better.
I do too.
Where did we go? We stayed near the church floor.
We did.
The campground near the church floor.
Yeah.
They call this the church floor, but they're naturally occurring basalt columns that have just been weathered down. And one of these is not a hexagon, which is the traditional side, but is a decagon, 10 sides.
And one of the first of maybe 3 canyons that we went down in, really, I liked all the canyons. Yeah. We did 3 kind of cool canyons. Yeah.
So the church floor, then we stopped in at the, the dwarf hammer, basically. It's the hexagonal.
Oh, we did. They were called the dwarf basalt columns. Yeah, the dwarf.
And the legend is, this place is full of legends, but the legend is that it was full of dwarves in there, and that was one of the places that they lived.
That's right.
And it was just a bunch of big basalt columns. A lot of these places are just quick stops, 15, 20 minutes maybe.
Get out, take a picture, wander around,
enjoy it, and then move on. So from there...
But then we did get up to the national park, the Scatterfield National Park. Now, there's a lot to do there. We did the 2 hikes, one out to the glacier, and then one up to the waterfall, with the black basalt columns by it. Again, another waterfall. But and you actually had to do the glacier hike twice, because then the sun came out, and he wanted to get pictures of it again.
The first time it was rainy, and then... and the pictures were just kind of gray and everything. And then as we got down to the bottom, the sun miraculously came out.
Yeah.
What a difference a couple hours makes. We went and did another hike up to the Slardavest waterfall. And the sun had come out, so hiked back over here to see what the glacier looked like with sun on it.
But then from that national park, you kind of go back, keep going up the east coast, and you get your lagoons. There's 2 of them, and they were both beautiful.
Both beautiful.
One's small and not a lot of people, and one's large and there's a lot of people there. A lot of people there. 3 different parking areas, and you pay one price to park in any of those. But you get the big glacier lagoon there and Diamond Beach, where all the icebergs wash up on.
I call this Diamond Beach because of all the little icebergs here that wash up, glitter in the sun, and it is a photographer's paradise. Playing around with all the pretty things, lights and shadows. My favorite pretty thing.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gotta admit, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then the 2, both lagoons were nice. The little smaller one was really nice.
Really small.
The bigger one is famous for a reason. A lot of big icebergs.
Big icebergs there, but lot of people
A
too.
lot of people.
Yeah,
Parking's a challenge.
Yeah, so you get crowded there too.
Yep.
So, but if you continue on up from there, because that's kind of ends the South Coast and Golden Circle crowds. Once you get above those lagoons, those glacier lagoons on the East Coast, then you run out of people. And that's where we hit the East Fjords. We did a couple of little towns in there with the eggs.
And here we are. And where are we?
It's the most excellent place.
I think it's one of the most egg-sighting places that we will visit.
It is the eggs of Mary Bay at Drusalif.
It is an art sculpture, or a bunch of sculptures, and they are different. They represent the eggs of different birds. And they are interesting and beautiful. That's pretty cool. So we drove all the way down here in this quaint little town. And it's so exciting.
Yeah, so we go on up the East Fjords and stayed in an artsy town where the ferry comes in from Norway.
Right.
Out there.
And we'll put the name of that down there. It has a little rainbow path and a lot of little artsy local made stuff.
Yeah.
Some good restaurants. We stopped in and had some Icelandic beer. Having some well-deserved local Icelandic beer. Very expensive Icelandic beer. And then we bought this artisanal handmade Icelandic chocolate. Also very expensive. And then we're going to have dinner here at the very nice El Grillo bar, which is, not surprisingly, kind of expensive. But it's Iceland, baby. So that's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes.
That was one of our really good meals we had.
That was one of our. I had cod
and I had lamb, and so we'll recommend that
that was a good
little
restaurant.
tavern. It was good.
Yeah.
And speaking of food, because we had our camper, most of the time we just cooked here, so we ate simple foods that we were able to prepare here and stocked up on that, partially to save money, but also largely because a lot of times you don't know where your next restaurant's going to be.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, if you want to eat at a restaurant every night, you could probably do it, but you've really got to calculate that out a little bit more. And they may or may not be open because a lot of places here just don't work on weekends.
Grocery stores close early, limited hours. As I know from getting sick, don't get sick on a pro tip. Friday afternoon after 1 p.m. because the only place you can get over-the-counter drugs is at a pharmacy, not at a grocery store and not at a convenience store. You can only get them at a pharmacy, and the pharmacies close about 1 o'clock on Friday, 1 p.m. on Friday, and they don't open again until Monday morning. So they're on limited hours Monday through Friday, and that's the only place you can get over-the-counter drugs.
Right. You can't get Advil or NyQuil or cough drops or anything at a grocery store. They don't exist.
Yeah. They're not allowed to sell them. That's what they say.
So be careful on that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe bring some of that basic stuff from home.
Yeah. Yeah. Or get sick on a Thursday.
Or get sick on a Thursday. Or don't get sick at all.
Yeah.
That'd be a novel concept.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at this point, we are well up into the East Fjords.
We are way up into and we did do another side trip off the ring road, off of to another canyon. Studegill Canyon
Studegill was amazing.
Beautiful.
Doesn't always make all the tourist books and things like that. Studegill was really pretty. Basalt columns and a beautiful blue-green river running through it.
So pretty. I loved all the three canyons.
Yeah, so
probably my favorite. But
try to hit Studegill.
Yeah.
And we remembered how to say that one, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we go up to Dettifoss, which is another easy waterfall to say, and that's the most powerful in all of Iceland.
Yes.
And if you're at Dettifoss, there's two others to grab there very easily, one in that same trail, and then one just drive down the road and way back into that. Into that little bumpy road that we weren't sure we got. But we did get to the waterfall, even though it was raining and we couldn't see it.
And extremely overcast. We really struggled up there with weather, and it got worse.
It got worse. So we keep going, from there. Those were three huge waterfalls, all right in that same area.
Right up in the northern area part of the country, so right off of the Ring Road in the northern part.
And up on that same northern area, you get back into volcanic area. So this is Krafla volcano. So there was a crater up there that we could walk. You could really drive right to the edge of it. We drove, parked, and you can walk right to the edge of it. And it's the only of the 3 craters we went in that had water in the bottom.
Right, right. And it was blue.
It was beautiful.
Kind of.
It was beautiful. It was cloudy when we were there, but it was blue water. But that again, that was a volcanic area, so we got more mud pots.
Right. And
no geysers there, but mud pots and
fumaroles. Yep. Stopped in a place there that had just, it was kind of interesting. They'd mined sulfur there years ago,
that's right.
and it was just a bunch of open fumaroles, and smelled like sulfur and bubbling mud, and actually it was more interesting than you would think.
Bubbly ponds.
So if you're up that way, check out the geothermal area up there, and again, down below. And look at the blog too, because the blog that we will have all this information.
Oh, we'll have great information in it.
Yes.
So then we went up, and the campsite we stayed at after that had a pool and hot tub area attached to the campsite. So we paid a little extra to get a shower, and then a little bit of extra for the swimming pool and hot tub. So this was a man-made swimming pool and hot tub at this facility. So that was our first experience with that, but it was still sulfury water.
It was, yeah. Most of the hot water here is sulfury, and you don't drink it. You drink the cold water.
You smell it, but it's,
You drink the cold water, not the hot water, because the hot water is sulfury.
Yeah. So we had a nice hot tub soak that night right before.
That was good, and that was a community pool. Lots of community pools here everywhere. Because they've got so much geothermal activity that they can keep warm water year round. And if you live someplace that in the wintertime only gets a couple hours of light, hot water and a nice soak probably goes a long way. So that was our one and only real community pool. But we enjoyed it at least once.
We did. And we were the only ones in there. We say community. We were the only ones in there that night. So it was very private.
Nice campground.
Very nice campground. So then we go on up, and we had to Husavik, and we did not buy whale tickets in advance. We just thought we would take our luck, and weather, we had run into some other people who had the place canceled on them. But this was actually not a bad weather day, and we actually got a spot on a whale watching.
We did.
North Sailing was the name of the company that we went with, and we went out for 3 hours. Yep.
Got a nice tour. And how many whales did we see?
I didn't see any.
Whales.
No. Now they'll say that we saw the harbor porpoise. We did. And then we actually had a good viewing and a long time viewing the white-beaked dolphin.
Yes, we had a whole pod of them.
There was a whole pod of them that were playing, having fun, jumping, and
right under the boat. That was sort of the highlight.
That was the highlight.
Yeah.
And she says that off the bow, some of you may have seen a minke whale, but they are
shy, reclusive, and
solitary.
So she said that they saw one. I don't think anybody actually saw it, but how do we argue with the whale expert?
I know. So we had great weather for the whale watching, but we didn't have the whales cooperate, I didn't think. But it was a fun 3 hour. It was an adventure to be on the boat. And so then, of course, we can't be a day in Iceland without a waterfall. Right. So we go down and get the big waterfall of Godafoss. It's easy to get, a lot of tour buses come in there and a lot of older people because it's right on one. You don't have to drive far off it. You don't have to walk far from it. Horseshoe shaped. Yep. Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous
Another
waterfall.
good waterfall. And we keep going and we spent the night in Akureyri. Akureyri is supposed to be it is the biggest town in the north. It's considered the capital of the north. When you're in those big towns, if you're out there doing this, get gas.
Oh, yeah.
Get groceries, and hit a Vinbuden, which is the alcohol store, because they're only open short hours too. But when you're in these big towns, be sure and get gas and groceries. Stock up on if you're in an RV, what you need in those towns.
And gas is not hard to find here, but you don't want to run out either.
Yes, true.
We kind of made a policy if we get down to a half a tank and we fill back up again.
Yeah.
So we left Akureyri. And where'd we go?
Well, we had the option of doing the troll Peninsula,
Oh, right.
and
Yep.
it was, but again, it was raining that
It
day.
was raining.
Socked in, cloudy, overcast raining. So we took the option to just stay on the Ring Road 1, which stays inland and goes more straight, rather than doing the Peninsula Loop. Oh, and hit the turf farm museum.
The turf farm. Yeah, the
Yeah.
turf farm on the way.
We were actually more impressed with that.
We like the turf farm,
We
actually.
did.
I love the
We
turf
did.
farm.
The history of it, just seeing how the houses were made and how warm they were inside.
It was so cozy and warm in there. I could have curled up and slept in the turf farm. I really could have. It was nice.
They were. It was interesting to learn about it and to tour them. So
And,
that
and,
was a good.
and the property had been lived on, not those exact buildings, since around 1000.
That's right.
So it wasn't the
Yeah.
exact buildings for the past 2,000 or so years, but it was that area had been occupied by people
Right.
with houses
Community,
since
yeah.
about 1000.
We went to another canyon
Oh,
after
yes,
that.
yeah.
A canyon,
And a waterfall.
and it had a waterfall in it. Again, the canyons were probably. I mean, I love the waterfalls. The canyons with a waterfall, probably one of my favorites.
Yeah,
The 3 canyons we hit, and then we did decide to do the loop of a peninsula there, and we did it more because the itinerary I found said to do it.
It included Elephant Rock and Seal Beach,
seals,
right?
some
Yeah,
seals on a
seals.
beach. And I got to tell you,
If we were going to cut something, that'd be the one we cut.
that's the first thing to cut.
Elephant Rock was kind of a cool rock out in the middle of the water. If you squinted real hard, it looked kind of like an
Yeah.
elephant.
Yeah.
Seal Beach, we've seen a bunch of seals over the years. The parking was $7 or $8 to park there to see them.
It was paid parking, so we opted not to go. We paid for a lot of parking here, and you will. But I think for seals, we just opted not to pay for it because
It just didn't matter to us.
it didn't matter to us. We've seen seals before, so yeah. I think if you, that's the first thing I would cut is say don't do that whole peninsula loop just for a rock in the ocean and some seals.
Yep. It was a nice drive, but it was just okay.
Yeah.
And then where did we make it to?
Well, that night we made it. We made it to Holmavik.
And we can pronounce Holmavik.
We can pronounce Holmavik.
And do you know why we can pronounce Holmavik? Because we were there for 2 days.
Yeah, 2 nights,
nights,
and a full day. So we pushed on into Holmavik because we got to, anyway, we pushed on into Holmavik, which is at the start of the West Fjords, and we wanted to do the West Fjords. So we thought we'd get up into Holmavik and do the West Fjords.
So Thor got a little bit dirty on our first bit of the West Fjords. We having fun?
We're having an adventure.
We are having an adventure. That was quite a ride.
Yeah, he said the winds aren't trying to blow us off the road, down the bank, and into the ocean. We actually enjoyed it. We had a little bit of wind.
The wind's
driving into that Thursday night, driving into Holmavik, and that night when we camped there, Thor was a rockin'. It was moving and shaking, and so we knew the winds were picking up. Well, the next day was Friday, and rainy, windy. I mean, we're talking 25-mile-an-hour winds.
At least.
Steady.
Winds.
And then gusting to 40.
Oh, yeah.
At least 40 miles per hour.
And we're okay usually in wind. At Patagonia, we did great.
Mm-hmm.
The winds here are considerably different because they will come from the east and then down off the mountains, and then they will come from the west off the ocean, and different gusts, different rates.
And you can't predict how fast and how. If you're driving along and you've accommodated for the ones coming off the mountain, and then you get a gust from the ocean.
It's tricky. And
this Thor rides higher than our Ferdinand in Patagonia.
Yes, this is a slide-in camper, and so it sits inside of the truck bed. And so we're even a camper van, like a full-size camper van, we're about 1.5 feet taller than that. So if those winds come, we've got a lot of surface area to push us against, and fairly high weight, top-heavy weight just in general with the truck. The truck isn't that big, and so we can get pushed around real easy.
Yeah.
So
we looked at winds on Friday and coming out of Holmavik. If you go on up into the West Fjords, you go over a mountain pass first, then you get to them. If you want to get out of Holmavik, to the west or south, you come over a mountain pass that way. And both mountain passes were over 20 meters per second,
Yes.
which is what the camper says we cannot drive in. And we wouldn't have. It was horrible.
It was horrible. It was just horrible
horrible
driving. And we're used to driving in, pulling a camper and stuff like that. This was just really bad.
Really
it was not
bad.
safe.
Really bad.
So we hunkered down.
So we hunkered down for an extra night, a whole day and a whole nother night in Hrunalaug. And the only thing to do there is to go to the Museum of Icelandic Sorcery and Witchcraft.
Which was really cool.
It was very cool.
And we spent a lot of time there because we had time.
Because we had time. Because we had time. So that was the only thing to do in Hrunalaug. And we were there 36 hours, a whole day that we lost to the winds of Iceland.
To the winds of Iceland. But the next day...
We did decide that we would do the West Fjords. It was an option to get out of there and cut that, but we did decide, let's do them.
And the wind had dropped down a lot. It was down to virtually, I won't say nothing because it's never nothing, but we were down to 4 or 5 meters per second, so about 10, 15 miles an hour. Yeah. So it wasn't bad at all.
It was not bad. So we decided to drive the West Fjords like our original plan. Yep. And it's a lot of driving because you're going in and out of fjord, around a fjord, in and out. So it's a lot of driving. Rugged, this is what I would call primitive.
Yeah, rugged, very rugged, very primitive, farms, not a lot of development.
Yeah, farms are out there, but very isolated. You'll see a farm to itself, and then you'll go several kilometers, and there's another farm, several kilometers. So if you lived out there, your nearest neighbor is
ways away.
A ways away.
You're tough to live out there.
Yeah.
And having lived out there for generations, I'm sure. But it was pretty. But it was a lot of windshield time. Long day driving.
Long day driving. I bet we drove 8 or 9 hours that day. Yeah. Now we did stop. The only stop we made in the West Fjords was at the waterfall. That probably was my favorite waterfall because it's a cascade. It's not a waterfall.
It's a huge cascade. It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous. Yeah. It was gorgeous. It starts out as 30 meters at the top, 60 meters at the bottom, so it kind of gets wider as it cascades down these rocks. You can hike up close to it on a fairly short hike. You can get 30 minutes. You can get fairly close to it. It was gorgeous.
It was gorgeous, and that was probably the highlight of the West Fjords. Everything else was pretty, but that was the highlight.
Yeah, that was the highlight. Everything else is just rugged, primitive, appreciating the scenery from the windshield.
Yep.
Yeah.
Went up the road a little ways. There was another beautiful waterfall. I flew my drone there, and now I got my Icelandic drone license, and I respected all the no drone areas, and that was fine. But this was another pretty waterfall. No drone, or drones were able to fly there, and I flew it, and I lost it. So you don't have as much drone footage in this video as you might have.
So we left a drone in the West Fjords.
So if you find a drone just a little bit away from the Djandi Falls,
that's true.
And it's got some nice footage on it, but send me the card at least. I appreciate it. You probably won't find it. It went down in the middle of nowhere. Winds took it down. Anyway, from there, we continued on. And where did we end up?
Let's see. Well, we that was the night we came out of the West Fjords and spent the night. That campground was in front of a schoolhouse. But then after that night, we went into the peninsula that everybody's Snaefellsnes.
Right?
Yeah, something like that.
Pronounced incorrectly. Read it down there.
It's the peninsula and a national park and a glacier. And we drove the whole, again, a big windshield day of driving.
8 hours of driving
with lots of little stops along the way. A crater that we went up to the top of that didn't have water into. Lighthouse. Black Church. Probably the main thing we stopped and did was an hour tour of a lava tube.
Yep, that was probably the highlight.
Yeah,
the lava tube
of
tour.
The peninsula. Yeah,
and it was neat.
It was very cool.
Would we do the peninsula again if you were short on time? I'd probably skip the West Fjords and the peninsula.
Yeah, both those. You'd make a call on doing those.
Those are not must-dos.
Yeah,
they were pretty. Lots of cool stuff out there to see.
Spires.
Yeah, but you could probably drop them because you've seen other things like that. And so did the whole peninsula.
And came off there and drove inland a little bit up to a campground that was, you know, more inland, I guess.
There is what is known as a camper troll. This is our second to last campground. We wake up to the perfectly blue skies that we would have loved to have all trip instead of the rain and gray we pretty much had. But no complaints. It's been pretty amazing. But yeah, nice campground. The bathrooms were not as nice as some of the others, but the water was awesome.
And that would have been where we woke up this morning.
It was. Yeah.
And we did 2 waterfalls that we knew about that were right there at the campsite. We got them coming out and we knew about them. And then we actually got another bonus waterfall that was gorgeous. So there's waterfalls everywhere to find. Yeah. And then we hiked up to our third crater of the trip.
Which I was promised would have water in it.
I swear I thought I read that it had water in it.
There was a crater that somebody assured me was full of beautiful blue water. I failed to see any beautiful water, but it's a pretty cool crater.
There's Thor.
There's Thor way down there. Let's see if we can get him. There's Thor. This is probably our last big adventure stop of the trip. So,
capped off by the beautiful blue water in the crater.
Beautiful blue water. It is. It's breathtaking, really.
On our only very few sunny days.
One of the very few sunny days, that's for sure. It's a gorgeous day, though. Nice day for a hike.
But that's okay. It was kind of a cool little hike.
It was a cool hike up there, and panoramic views, and yeah.
And it was kind of a short day. We knew it was going to be kind of a short day.
Yeah.
And so we ended up here in the town of
Hrunalaug, which is on a peninsula between Snaefellsnes and Reykjavik. So we can see the glacier on the peninsula out there, and we can see the lights of Reykjavik, where there's a volcano.
We can see the volcano ash cloud
going up.
That's pretty cool. We haven't seen any red yet, but.
So we got in here fairly early, and we walked along the beach. This beautiful cliff, black sand beaches and the lava cliffs.
Lots of trolls and elf stories in this little area as well. Stories. And then
we went to another hot tub.
Boy, did we go to a hot tub.
This was our third hot tub of the trip, and it sits on the beach at the ocean.
So we're at Hrunalaug.
The name of the town.
The name of the town. And we're at the hot spa here, hot tub, which is on the ocean, which is currently overlooking the erupting volcano over there. And this is one of the least expensive spas we've seen, hot spas, and very, very nice.
It's 39 degrees Celsius in here.
Yes.
And it feels awesome.
And it's fresh water, sulfuric fresh water.
So I've decided to leave this really pleasant, nice, hot water and go down there.
Okay, so we are headed down to the ocean, which is going to be a lot colder than what we were just at. So far, so good, because we haven't hit the water yet. We're going to see how this goes for both of us. I say I should embrace my Nordic roots, but I don't think I really can do that. Holy moly. What you think about that, Melinda? You're going all the way in, aren't you?
Just above freezing.
It is. How far can she make it?
So I already can't feel my toes.
Oh, some rocks in there too you have to be careful of. Oh, and rocks. Careful of the rocks. They'll dump you in real fast. That was a little brisk. That might be it for you?
I'm up to my knees.
Yes? Okay. Here, hang on to this for a minute.
Okay, you going all the way further in?
I'm going in.
Oh my gosh, my feet are frozen. He's going under. Oh my gosh. Holy, there might have been some.
That feels good.
Does it?
Crazy good, but yes.
Crazy good? Oh my gosh, he went back down.
Okay, but that's enough. Okay, so on our way back from this, we found this beautiful flame pattern in the sand, which is really amazing. But Melinda is running back to where it is warm, and I'm following her. How does this feel, babe, after being in the ocean?
Needle pinpricks.
Needle pinpricks.
And I was only in from my knees down, but they are, you went
All the way.
Can you feel needle?
It really, in my toes, I can feel that.
Submerged longer in the
Yeah,
ocean.
yeah. I was not in there very long.
Yeah.
But
I'm impressed you went up to your neck.
I got in touch with my inner Swede.
Did it twice.
It was neat.
So we did that several times, right?
Yeah. I did it 3 times, and maybe my ankles got wet the first time. Maybe my knees got wet the second time. The third time, I made myself kind of crouch down and get my arms, and I never got my shoulders in. And I never stayed more than 10 seconds and came out of the beach straight back up into the hot tub. This one went down the 3 times with me.
Yep.
And then you said, I'm feeling it. I'm going to do a 4th time. And he went in further than I did each time and stayed longer than I did.
Swam the 3rd time. Did a little swimming on the 3rd
Did you?
time. Yeah,
Third
just a little
time?
bit, because
Okay.
that's when I was back.
Oh, yeah. The 4th time, I'm up in the hot tub watching him. He's down there for 6 or 7 minutes, up to his neck, puts his head full in, kicking, finds a friend out there to talk to, which distracted him. But you were out there 6 or 7 minutes.
It was cold.
And
I got my Viking on.
And I'm telling you, this water is
Cold.
like feet numb within 10 seconds kind of cold. Your feet going first. So that to me was, they were just, and he was out there for 6 or 7 minutes, come back up to the hot tub. And when you get in that hot water after that, I just felt needle pricks. You said you didn't on your chest, but maybe on your feet you
Yes.
did.
Oh, yeah.
But
It was pretty exhilarating to do it for 7 minutes or so. It was really intense. And
this
and
one
very
got his
cool.
Viking on.
I got my Viking on.
So that was today. We did our last hot tub experience, which was really cool because it was on the ocean.
Yep.
It was on the ocean over the volcano that's going off.
Tomorrow we will pack and clean all this up and return it.
Yeah.
Stay at an Airbnb and then fly
out.
home.
The next day. So we're done.
We're done.
Iceland.
You gotta want it.
You gotta want it.
You gotta want Iceland. It's now okay. So let's kind of like rehash here. If you were here in Iceland and you only had a limited time frame, what would you recommend? Say 5 or 6 days.
Well, I guess what everybody else is doing, where all the crowds are, the Golden Circle, the South Coast, up to the Lagoons, which are kind of up on the south, and then call it.
If you see that, I'm going to say that you've seen about 70% of all the cool stuff in Iceland. And not that all of Iceland isn't beautiful, because every bit of it is gorgeous in some different way. And there's lots of cool things to see, but the distances start getting a lot bigger.
Yeah,
and the
you're
logistics
driving,
get a lot bigger
But if you do that, and there's a canyon over there you can get in there, you would have gotten the Rift, dozens of waterfalls.
Big, nice waterfalls.
A geyser, the black sand beaches, the glacial lagoons,
glaciers,
and a glacier, and a canyon. So if you go up and do the national park, Scatterfield National Park, and back to Reykjavik with the Golden Circle, and that's going to be where the most people are. But
you'll see most of the real highlights of Iceland.
Yeah.
Now, doing it the way we did it, I feel like you need to build in a couple of buffer days for things to go wrong, like things went wrong for us. For the weather is so unpredictable here.
Right.
We've had several Icelanders say they didn't really even get summer this year.
Right.
And so,
right. And every morning, and we were told this before we came, but every morning you're checking weather conditions with wind and road conditions, because the road conditions can change.
Yep. But the week or two before we got here, one of the roads in the south
Glacier
coast
flood.
had a glacier flood and washed out, and they had it fixed within 24 hours.
And now there's roads closed around the volcano that's erupting. So you always check weather with wind speeds and road conditions, safe travel or something like that. But
but it was a great trip.
It was a great trip. I just feel like between the first camper truck breaking down on us, me getting sick, and then
the
weather with the winds, and maybe losing a drone thrown in there. We have been, Iceland has been.
It almost kicked our butts, but we got a lot of great stories to tell.
We got great stories, and we rebounded each time. We
Yep.
rebounded. You can kick us, but we're not going down.
We're still shiny and we're still happy.
We're still shiny, happy.
All right.
Shiny, happy travelers.
And so we will catch you on our next adventure, wherever that might be. So until then,
Somewhere warm.
someplace warm, I think.